I was 6 when my dad gave me my first little acoustic guitar. Okay, I changed my mind. I don't want to be Hank Williams. I want to be Joe Perry. So I handed over my 20 bucks, and I was like, he said, "You got an amp?" And I said, "No." He's like, "Here's what you do." Crazy. If you had told 11-year-old me that I could speak with Billy Gibbons and ask him a question, I would have told you you're crazy. It's this. It was like, that's the key that unlocked every door right there. Whatever happens to your hands happens, but just keep singing the damn song.
Hey everyone, Dinesh here from Gibson. I'm sitting with my friend here, Mr. Charlie Starr of Blackberry Smoke. Charlie, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Proud to be here with you guys.
A pleasure. I gotta say, dude, that guitar sounds great.
It does. What a great job Gibson has done.
Now tell us a little something about the guitar for a second here. What's going on here?
So this guitar is the new Charlie Starr signature Les Paul Junior.
Nice.
And it's based on my 1956 Gibson Les Paul Junior that is an old black refinished guitar.
I've seen that guitar. The guitar is beat.
It's beaten, and it's a Frankenstein. It's got a lot of modifications and changed parts since the 50s, since it was born. But
yeah.
I think most of that stuff happened in the 70s. But this guitar is a recreation of that idea with the compensated saddle bridge, speed knobs, Grovers, and some black paint.
Yeah. Now I'm looking at the bridge. The bridge is a little different. I've got the traditional, lightning wrap around here, but you've got it to where you can. There's a little more control on the intonation on that one.
Yeah,
right?
I think people. I think originally, wraparound tailpieces were designed to use a wound G string in the 50s, and obviously people decided against that at some point.
Yeah.
And
when we started playing leads.
Right. So as soon as people started bending the G string, they're like, "Oh, I need something smaller. Need those banjo strings." Gibson obviously was making ABR ones that had, but what I mean is that people with juniors with wraparound, bridges wanted more control also
Of the intonation, right?
So there,
I like it.
There you go,
dude. It's great, and I like the flat black. That's awesome. I just so happen to have your. Comes in any other finishes as well. I think we've got
comes in walnut,
which is right behind me, as a matter of fact.
Right there.
Yeah. So
hey, look at
walnut.
that.
Hey, it's I don't know who put that there. No, it's a killer guitar. I'm always a little nervous when I approach something with just one pickup, and then plugging into a Junior, it was like you don't need anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm playing the special today just because I wanted to get the neck in there to kind of stay out of the way when we do some jams in a little bit.
Yeah.
But man, it's just really nice to hear that single pickup just do its thing. So on this guitar, what's the story on you getting that Junior?
Well, I moved to Atlanta in the early 90s from East Alabama, little textile mill town I grew up in. Atlanta was the closest big city. It was an hour and change away. And soon after I moved there, I started going to little mom and pop guitar stores and happened upon the guitar in Clark Music in Atlanta, which is no longer there, but I met a lifelong friend there who sold me that guitar. And he was like matchmaker. I walked in and he was like, we met, and he's like, you play guitar? I said, yeah. He goes, come over here. And I don't know, he doesn't know why he did either, but he said, come check this guitar out. It belonged to Rick Richards from the Georgia Satellites, who is one of my favorite guitar players ever. Yeah. And it belonged to a few other people in Atlanta as well, but he pulled that guitar off the wall and it was love at first feel.
Wow.
To quote Bon Scott. But I plugged it in and he said, you have to have, we bonded, that guitar and I, pretty instantaneously. And I think my buddy Ted could tell. And he's like, you need to buy this guitar. And so I said, how much? And he said, $650. And I thought, at that point, I think I was 21 years old. I was either 20 or 21 years old. And he might as well have said 6 million. I was like, who's got $650?
Sure.
But I said, I tell you what, I've got some other gear and I got a little cash. And so we made the deal and it's been with me ever since.
No kidding. Man, it's always funny to hear a story about a special guitar. It seems like when there's a special guitar involved in someone's life, it's always like it was with someone or a few players before, it seems like. Yeah. You know, you hear the stories about that. Well, like, oh, you know, it used to belong to so-and-so or so-and-so gave it to them. Or, you know, when I think like the Jimmy Page Les Paul or you know, even how Stevie Ray got his Strat and all that kind of thing. It was always ended up being someone else's, you know, touch or fingerprint on it. And then it comes to the story.
Yeah. Well, and I had already been playing in cover bands in my late teens, you know, playing around honky tonks in the Southeast. And so I'd already been playing, you know, mountain songs and Georgia Satellite songs. And I really loved Johnny Thunders. And of course, Keith Richards, he played juniors from time to time too. And Mick Ralph's Bad Company and Mott the Hoople, he was a big junior guy. So I think maybe without even knowing it, I had an affinity for the P-90 thing.
I gotcha. That makes sense.
Just because those guys were all favorites.
Yeah. You know what? That's funny. That's the people I think about. Yeah, because I was going to ask you about like some of the influences and stuff as you were, you know, growing up. So yeah, you sound like you're listening to all the right stuff.
Yeah. And lucky for me, you know. But I wasn't into a lot of the music that some of my friends were, that had like pointy headstock guitars and Floyd Rose tremolos. You know, I couldn't do any of that stuff, so I gravitated more towards the rootsier guitar stuff.
So you're doing the cover band thing now. When did you start playing the guitar?
I was 6 when my dad gave me my first acoustic guitar.
So early start.
And he's a bluegrass guitar player, just a rhythm player, but he's a troubadour. He sings and plays songs, you know. So
gotcha.
But I wanted to do that. I was like, because he could, when I would come home from school, he would play songs for me and sing. I wanted to do that. It's like a one-man band.
Yeah.
And so I started banging his guitars around, and he had old Martin D28s, and he's like, no, let me get you one.
Nice.
So he bought me a little cheap gut string guitar.
Yeah.
But that quickly turned into, I wanted an electric, because I was like, okay, I changed my mind. I don't want to be Hank Williams. I want to be Joe Perry.
Sure.
So, but actually, I fell in love with Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith and Van Halen.
Wow.
And I bought you asked me what time it was, I'm telling you how to build a watch. The influencer telling me what time it was, but now, real quick, Dad was into that, but from what I did a little digging and Mom was into... She was into the Stones.
The total opposite.
Yeah, and the Stones and the Beatles and Bob Dylan and the Beach Boys.
Oh, so you're getting hit with great stuff from both sides here.
But then my sister, who's 4 years older, she liked Van Halen and Rat and Y&T.
Yeah.
And even Peter Frampton. She had Frampton Comes Alive, and so had all this to choose from.
Sure. What was do you remember your first electric guitar?
There was a guy in town who was our guitar hero. His name was Bubba, and he could play Eruption. And we were just like, oh,
dude,
hell.
That's the guitar hero for sure.
So another friend of mine, we were both 11, he said, hey, Bubba's got a guitar for sale, $20. So I earned $20 cutting grass.
No GoFundMe back then.
Right. We got on our bikes and we went to Bubba's house. I'll never forget, he opened the door and like had a cigarette in his hand. I was like, what can I do for you guys? And I was like, I hear you have a guitar for sale. And he said, come on in. And so we go in and he's got this, it was a Mosrite copy. Height Deluxe is the brand of guitar. And it was taped up and striped like Eddie's guitar.
Oh, okay.
So I handed over my $20 and I was like, he said, you got an amp? And I said, no. And he's like, here's what you do. You got a stereo?
Oh, here we go.
I said, my sister does. She's got the stereo in the cabinet, you know. It's like record player, receiver, dual cassette deck. He goes, take this cable, plug it into the headphone jack of stereo, put a blank tape in the record side of the dual cassette deck, hit play, record, and pause, and turn the volume all the way up. And that's an amp. And it works. And all it was a distorted guitar sound. And I was like, oh, wow. This is how you do it. This is how they do it.
That's incredible because you wouldn't even think that would work because going into the headphone is, wow, that's crazy. So did you blow the stereo up?
I did. It took a while. It took like 2 weeks. And finally, and my sister was like, what did you do? But I recorded myself. I took pause off the cassette that was ready to record. And I recorded myself playing. The first thing he taught me was like Iron Man on one string.
Oh,
probably
classic.
I won't play it because of licensing, but anyway.
That's classic. Well, you got Iron Man, Smoke on the Water, like that's kind of the staples, right? Like you got to do one of those.
So I went back. I was like, no, I want Eruption. And anyway, I still can't play Eruption, but.
So did you take lessons? You go,
no.
How'd you pick it up?
No, he actually, and then later another friend of my sister's who was a great drummer, his name was Cam. He was a drummer in a local band that was, they were more heroes of ours. He's like, what are you doing? You got to play power chords. Because I knew like G, D, C, and E, and A, standard, full on chords.
Yeah.
Cowboy chords. And he's like, no. That. I was like, I don't know what that is. He's like, you're working too hard with that shit up there. It's this. I was like, that's the key that unlocked every door right there.
Sure. Man, so you listen to all the classics. Now, you're a teenager, you're jamming in bands and all that. When did we start? Were you one of those that were like writing early?
No.
Or were you just doing the cover thing? Because I definitely wasn't writing early. I wanted to play all the songs first. Play all my favorite tunes.
I didn't sing. I sang some harmony, some background vocals, but I mean, it was way back there. I was as far away from the microphone as I could possibly be. I was so bashful about singing.
Yeah.
So just focused on guitar and played covers. From the first time I played, the first paying gig, I was 15. And started playing in all those little bars. And I would have to sneak in. I played with all these older guys. They were like, don't tell anybody how old you are. Don't drink. Which I stuck to that not drinking for quite a while, for like 2 years. And then I was like, why am I the only one not having any fun?
Yeah.
So then we all started drinking and partying. But like I turned 21 in this same bar in Smyrna, Georgia, like 8 times. Like,
sure.
every birthday
great.
was 21 again.
That's fantastic, man.
But I didn't start to write songs until I moved to Atlanta and got in some original bands and thought, well, that's what I want to do. We don't want to play, Bad Company covers for the rest of our lives. We want to write songs.
I think that's like a switch that sometimes will flip on and sometimes doesn't, and it's okay either way. But I think, there comes a time where you're like, I think I want to do my own thing, or I got something I want to talk about, or I want to say, right?
That was it. I think that was if I really stand back far enough to see the whole picture, I think that's what I wanted to do from the beginning, because it's my dad singing songs.
Yeah.
That's what really appealed to me, was the song.
The influence was already there, was always there.
Yeah.
I think, especially when we try to talk about stuff in these, on this show, we forget that you guys don't just appear. We forget the journey and how you guys got there.
Yeah.
What we do is we go to a show and we're like, oh man, that was awesome. Like, we want to be like them. And then we start to go do the work.
Yeah.
And then you realize, man, it's a lot of work here. There's a lot of work in writing tunes and putting bands together and keeping bands together. You guys have been around for a long time.
23 years.
23 years. And I was just looking at the discography. There's quite a few albums.
Yeah, 8, I think.
That's a good, healthy amount of,
8 full lengths and some live records and some EPs. And
man. And, I did a quick listen through just to kind of get some thought on, the evolution of the band, and listening from the earliest record to the record that just released. You guys still maintain your sound, but it's great to hear how the band evolves in certain directions here and there, whether it be vocal parts, what you're doing with the writing, the riffage, when stuff is more straight ahead, or it's got a little bit more trickier type of changes. I do enjoy, hearing the evolution, but then like how you guys, it's like listening to AC/DC at the same time, where it's like, it still sounds like AC/DC, but then you hear like, they change a little bit, but not too much. And it's just enough to keep the sound there.
That's right.
It's
fingerprint.
Yeah. And you find that happens, especially things that a lot of us, if we get to do a demo or an EP or even a first record or something. But when you've done multiple records and stuff like that, like, do you find does the sound change more in your case where it's the band changing or you're writing the changing, or is it a little bit of the producer? What's been the experience there?
I think it's a little of all of the above.
Yeah.
Starting with the writing, and that really becomes a conscious effort to what you just mentioned, to include some twists and turns that might not have been there 20 years ago, when you're just going for that, we made it through the song, well then we're done,
yeah.
And then you don't want to repeat yourself. So
yeah,
it's like how many rock and roll songs in A can we write,
right.
And it becomes a really fun challenge to find nice little Easter eggs to throw in there. Nice little, some off time stuff, some crazy tempo change stuff. And
man, I gotta say, one of the things I recognized instantly, the chord changes. You'll be doing something in an A, and then A to like a C or a D, like just a straight ahead type of thing. But then like you'll throw this other chord in there where it kind of like sets it off into another spot. I'm a big fan of that.
Thank you. Me too.
I hear it in the song. Well, I was watching the clip of you at Daryl's house, and it was the tune that you guys did with Daryl. And on that chorus, I know that the song, I'm trying to think of the name of the song, something about like, I'm still standing here, I got so much to give. Yeah, ain't much left to me. That when you're playing that chorus, there's like that last chord that kicks in. Maybe you could just play that little end part for me.
The last, it's in open G, but that chord, which is almost like the Hard Day's Night chord.
Oh, without the...
Well, it's got a major seventh in there too, which like putting a major seventh chord in a rock and roll song is so great.
Yeah, man.
Because it's so nerdy.
Dude, play that chord again. I love that chord because it's so...
that kind of... And with it, give it some...
I love it because it takes it out of the realm of just the chord, it gives it a little flair to it. I'm a big fan of that, where it's like, if you're playing like an A, or then if it's a minor, just staying in that realm, you guys do that really well, man.
Thank you very much. It's
now,
like using all the colors of the palette.
Love it. And, the biggest question I have for you when it comes to the writing part is, since you're the lead vocalist, this is something that I struggle with, and a lot of us out there do too, where it's like writing stuff that you can sing and play.
It becomes a challenge because I am guilty so many times of writing a guitar riff and being like, oh, I really like this, and then being like, what the hell am I going to sing over that? How the hell am I going to sing over that?
Well, now you have, since there's 2 guitar players in the band, I know you can rely.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how does that work? Because, dude, that's something that, like, if we could crack the code on, like, what do? Do you take a step back and you just go, let's just simplify it? Or do you say, hey, I was playing this riff, can you play that? And I'll play the,
Well, we were on tour back in, like, 2007 with ZZ Top. We went out with ZZ for a couple of months, and it was just fantastic. And they were so good to us, and still friends to this day. It's crazy. If you had told 11-year-old me that I could speak with Billy Gibbons and ask him a question, I would have told you you're crazy. We would sit and talk about guitars and tell stories and listen to him tell stories. I said, how the hell do you play the Heard It on the X riff and sing?
Yeah.
And he's like, fake it. I said, okay, well, that's really not a good answer to my question, but because he doesn't fake it, he does it. It's like, it's a discipline, and it's all about, you know, patting your foot. Just, you got to keep it going. Whatever happens to your hands happens, but just keep singing the damn song.
Yeah, I mean, apparently that's what it is, because I mean, dude, there's things where I listen on the songs where I'm like, is he singing and playing that at the same time? Because I'll get lazy about that and be like, if I play with another guitar player, if I have a riff, I'm just gonna throw them the riff, and I'm just gonna be like, man, I'm just gonna chug on the A.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, when we were just jamming on that thing, you know, this first it was like, you know, no way I can sing and play that.
Well, yeah, what would you sing?
Nah, I don't even know what I would do. Like, it might be a long line, or it might have to be something that goes with it in order to like mechanically pull it off. Yeah. You know? So I wanted to touch base on what we did in the beginning, because I think it's really important for people to understand like how you got to come together and jam with people and just like bring some ideas to the table. But we were talking about this thing in the beginning about this A, turn around to G to D, and then we had this thing where we went from C to D. But I kind of just want to maybe hold down the rhythm and then have you kind of riff off of it for a second, and then maybe we'll go into a little, you know, talk about the slide playing in a second here.
Okay.
But dude, I just want to kind of show the audience here like what you kind of came up with on the spot here, which was killer, man. So I'm just gonna hold it down on the A here.
Any of those little...
Yeah, show me that little... Oh, that's great. And now you had another one that went a little bit on the... So there we're just playing off the open G and then bending this E back into G.
To G, yeah.
That's great, man. Those little tiny inflections are cool. And you definitely have that southern twist on there, which is killer.
Well, thank you very much.
Is it the water? What's going on? You know.
It's the mud.
It's the mud, right?
Yeah. That's what they say. By the river.
Man, that's great. That was just great. I love those little, and you know, that's what kind of pushes it into that realm.
Yeah.
You know, there's like, if you play it country-wise, you're kind of doing, you know. It's a little different. But when you slow it down and give it the little thing, it's got that little, you know, that swing to it. Killer. Okay, all that.
That's one thing about...
All that.
You know,
how did that all come about?
Well, another really interesting thing about P-90s to me was, especially when I was playing through like big amps, like big Marshall half stacks or even full stacks, with that old guitar, it was the first P-90 guitar I'd ever owned, that Junior. When I would come down from that to that, I was like...
Leans up.
I was like, oh, all of a sudden, it's like playing country music. Sounds like that other kind of guitar.
Yeah, because I was wondering, it's like...
And the closer you get to the bridge... And then, you know, not having a neck pickup, you could always use the tone knob, come down to about 5, move where you're picking the string. So it really gives it a fatter.
Wow.
So just
that sounded like 5 different guitars just now.
A little bit of difference in where you're making your stand.
Yeah. Fantastic. Because, you know, the first thing you think of is you hear those records and I'm like, oh, it's, you know, this guy's got to be using humbuckers.
Yeah.
So when I saw they were using P-90, I was like, well, you know, I think a lot of us, we forget how powerful the P-90 is. It's kind of like an underdog pickup. Yeah. But man, you're rocking it. Now, your setup is pretty simple. You got a few pedals, and then you're just running straight into some Marshalls pretty much, right? Like you got the Germinos, which is the Marshall clones, and then one's a super bass, I think, and one's like a super lead, is it?
Yeah, and then have one that's like the JMP Master model or the JCM 800, and then have some 6v6 amps that go with it.
Cool.
Kind of round out the American sound with the British. And it really likes P-90 guitars.
Dude, and the pedal board's pretty simple. You got a little tape echo on there, and then I love the fact that you got that the Chase Tone Secret preamp.
Yes,
that little Echoplex preamp. That's a great little box.
Any guitar that's a little quieter than one of the juniors.
Yeah.
That pedal levels the playing field.
Love it. Simple, but you got all the treats on there, and you're just riding the volume. Man, the tone is fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, the tone's fantastic. I think it's just straight in like that. But hearing it with P-90 is like, you listen to any of their stuff and that'll sell you a P-90. That's it. You're done there. The slide playing. We had a little taste of that earlier. Could you give us a little trick on the slide and give us a little tips and tricks on what's going on there?
Well, one of my favorite slide players was Rick Richards. And he always played an open G, which this guitar is not in, but... But he played with a pick, all the while other people... Nobody played slide when I was a kid, when we were teenagers. I saw some footage of Lowell George playing like Dixie Chicken with and he was using a socket, an 11/16 socket. And so he was one of my favorites, and he would use his pick and he would hybrid that finger in there. So, and muting with the heel of your hand.
So you are using both.
Yeah. And the reason I say that is I was not very good at doing it like this, using just the fingers and not the pick.
Yeah.
I learned that later, but initially it was just more comfortable and louder to me.
Yeah.
Because I could get attack with the pick that I wasn't able to get with just that finger.
Are you muting with the other hand as well, or is it just this right hand?
Yeah, a little. With my index finger.
And what is that, glass or
it's ceramic?
Nice, man.
And it's got some weight. I like weight.
Holy smokes. Yeah. And I've seen you hold that in your hand the whole time while you're playing, too.
Derek Trucks, he uses like Dwayne the Chorus Eden type clear glass bottle that are much lighter. But he's an alien because he's the greatest slide player that's ever walked the face of the earth. But I always gravitated toward more weight.
Love it.
And the ceramic is really really warm sounding. I normally play open G also.
With the slide,
A couple of songs played standard, and a couple in open E also. But
are you doing the guitar swaps, or are you just tuning on stage?
Guitar swaps.
Okay.
I used to tune on stage when I could only afford one guitar, and people would get so pissed. Like, what are you doing? What are we waiting for?
Right.
So that's what started my needing a lot of guitars.
Yeah. Okay. I see the. Tell me the story with the sticker on the back there. What's going on with the?
So, at some point in some bar somewhere, early in the. It was actually before Blackberry Smoke. It was a band that was in just before Blackberry Smoke, and sometime in the late 1900s, and I was in some smoky bar, and I kept thinking about Ernest Tubb. He had his guitar, his Martin acoustic back in the 50s, maybe in the late 40s, and he would flip his guitar up and it said, "Thanks," with an exclamation point.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And that's how he'd end the song, And I thought, I need that, but what would I put on it? And I thought, I'll put "Hey Y'all." And a buddy of mine got the letters, the decals from Walmart.
Nice.
And I thought, tonight's the night, I'm putting it on. And I was like, how do you spell y'all? Where does the apostrophe go? Does it go before the A or after the A?
Yeah, oh.
And unfortunately, I was wrong. But
so where's it supposed to go?
It goes before the A.
Oh, whatever.
And people
it looks
tell me
like that.
Like I had people tell me over the years, like, he's not really from the South because he doesn't know how to spell y'all.
Oh, man.
But I said, no,
That's awesome.
One drunken night, I didn't know where to put the apostrophe. We were just actually talking about it earlier, how it's actually not wrong.
So now that sticker's coming with the signature model.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll have the option to put it on or leave it off.
Okay, cool.
But I don't think that you'll have the option to spell it correctly, because that would be incorrect for this guitar.
Well, hey, it's working out.
Yeah.
It's working out just fine.
We figured that y'all's not actually a word anyway, so who's actually wrong?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you've made it a thing, so it's fine. Now, are we getting the slide too with the signature model, or we are?
You'll get the Oceanipa Creek slide.
Very cool, man. Now, you guys are busy. You guys are. I was speaking to your manager. You guys are getting on the road pretty quick here.
We are, which we've been on the road pretty steadily for 20 years, 23 years. Somebody asked me how long the tour was once, and I said 23 years, apparently.
Sure. Man, now you came back for some dates, but you're coming into town too here. You're coming in the Ryman.
In June?
I think in June, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Two
but
nights.
Before that, you got stuff going on.
Yeah, we're actually just off here for a couple of days, so I can come see you.
Right, you took one of your days off for us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we'll resume. We've already been on the tour since the beginning of February.
Man, just in it. What's a little? Well, we know the touring life is a challenge. So what's the secret?
I don't know. If we knew it, we could bottle it and sell it. But it's definitely get used to small, cramped spaces, because you're going to be either in a van or a tour bus or a whatever type of vehicle you decide to travel in.
Probably need to like the people you're in a band with too. So that
that's important. You need to like them. You need to not be bothered by various smells and sights and sounds.
The good days and the bad days.
There's a lot of snoring, a lot of BO, a lot of chewing with people's mouths open, and
all the good stuff.
A lot of bad manners. Touring equals bad manners, really.
Builds the character. Yeah. Builds the character.
That's what it's
all about.
And
then the new record.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that.
New record's called Be Right Here.
Yeah.
It's we're proud of it. It's our newest baby. Recorded it at RCA Studio A here in Nashville with Dave Cobb.
Killer.
It was really great to work with Dave. He's a guitar nerd. he'd be right here with us telling stories and playing riffs and whatnot.
Just awesome having you here today. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for coming down and taking the time and jamming and talking all things guitar. What's maybe a little message for some of the younger players and some of the beginners out there? What do you think's a key little piece of knowledge for all of them out there, for all of us?
Just that the possibilities playing guitar are endless. You never stop learning. And you don't have to be chained to one genre or style. Or, I guess people have told me, like, don't try to copy or mimic other people so much. Try to find your own voice. But what is that really? How do you do that? I think every time I pick up a guitar, we play the blues.
Yeah.
Or we play something Chuck Berry came up with.
Sure.
Every time. So really, the mimicry never stops. It's always there, and it's just the power of music and the power of personal expression.
Yeah.
Whatever made us want to pick it up in the first place. Never lose the love of that.
Yeah, and your influences are going to come out anyways.
Yeah.
So
Tom Waits said, whatever we consume, we eventually secrete anyway. So let it go. Secrete it.
Fantastic. I love it. Words to live by, my man.
Secrete it. That's
love
the
it.
new motto.
Well, man, thank you again. We'll definitely keep an eye out on all the stuff that you guys are doing this year with the tour. We'll check out that, the new record and all that. But it's just been a blast, man. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much, man. And looking forward to having this signature come out.
Me too.
This is great.
Thank you, Gibson. This is just great.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, everyone out there, Mr. Charlie Starr, Blackberry Smoke, keep an eye on them. They're touring this year. Keep an eye out for Charlie's new signature coming out as well. And let's just play a little something to ride us home with, man.
All right. What are we going with?
Let's see what we got. Good times indeed. Shoot, man. We got it.